Manhood, brought to you by Jameson, natural sources since 1922, and Racetrack.
Thank you for joining us for another episode, or as I'm always saying, another conversation. Manhood is really, really important. I try as much as I remember to reiterate that it's not about a stature, it's not about your strength, it's not about a particular behavior or whether you like sports or not. Being a man is about your morals, your moral compass, and how you're received by your peers. Today is really an exciting one because the topic today is emotional regulation. Let me introduce the panel. First of all, we're all hosts here. I'm so delighted to have you all as normal. Johanse Audike, behavior change consultant. You know that I'm getting that smooth like a river.
Almost. Go ahead.
Notice I said smooth like a river, not like a lake, because it's in between at some point. You have your pockets of river, when you're going the river at certain points that are still, and in other parts it could be turbulent. So there are moments. But I'll still take the kudos. Another good friend, Rayad Emrit, no stranger to anyone, West Indies cricketer, top guy, all in all. I'm digging the kicks, I must say. Nile Royal, a producer and also a friend. So it's a very tricky topic. It's a very tricky topic, and some of the conversation that we had in the lead up before the red button was pressed and record started, we spoke about off the cuff, and of course, Johanse has a definition that he wants to talk about that he believes in. And I want to make sure that he expresses that before we get into the conversation, because we started to speak about something off topic, but still part of the topic because it's still emotion. And we started talking about self-hate. So I really want to also add that into the mix. Okay. But first of all, let's hear Johanse's definition of emotional regulation.
That I was given, that I believe in. Emotional regulation refers to the ability to effectively manage, and I like the word manage because there's a root man there, manage and controls one emotion in order to adapt to different situations and maintain psychological well-being. It involves understanding, expressing, and managing emotions in a healthy and constructive manner. Emotional regulation plays a crucial role in our overall mental health and interpersonal relationships. All right, that was a little mouthful, but for the most part, I do agree with this, right? Especially in terms of...
I wasn't wrong, you believe in it.
And in terms of adapting to different situations and maintaining psychological well-being. Okay. Because a simple definition for mental health is the way we think, feel, and behave. Based on that, you could tell how mentally healthy you are or not. So the ability to adapt, because many times things happen and we can't predict it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of really show you your true, how you would truly react in something. Because if we have time to calculate how we reacting, you wouldn't get that true result, and you wouldn't really see how mentally healthy you are. Mm-hmm. So we could start there, because as men, humans, but as men, we are faced with many different situations that sometimes we don't plan for. Mm-hmm. And a lot is on our plate and a lot is on our shoulders. And if we go in terms of being, let's call it a quote-unquote traditional man, where we handle most of things for our families, we have to be the rock. We have to be the person carrying things and sometimes not complain, not react. So we could start with Robert. No, you talk before, let me start with Niall.
Well, not to cut you off, but I'll let you jump back in. But I just wanted to be clear that in terms of regulation, that does not mean don't show emotion. Mm-hmm. I feel like we have to be very, very open when saying that, because I find a lot of the times men choose to, I don't want to say how I feel because this is how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I don't agree to that at all. I find that if it is I feel like crying in front of my girl, or in front of my mother, I am going to let out tears. Right. You understand? And it's easy to worry about how you're being perceived by your peers, especially like your brethren, like you can't cry in front of your brethren, but I am balling if it is that's the case.
Right.
Because if it as the definition said, for what it is for mental health. For me, letting it out is healthy. You understand?
Right.
That's how I look at it. And anytime you try to contain any type of emotion that you're feeling overwhelmed by, and you now have to put on a face to try to, I guess to make other people feel comfortable, that's where you're moving into the space of unhealthiness, in my opinion.
I agree.
And you said it there where you said, is it for yourself or is it for someone else that you are not showing this emotion or showing a particular emotion? I was saying to you guys, or maybe even Rayad, we were talking about if as a man or anyone you are out of control. They always say sometimes when you write a particular thing, it could be to your boss, it could be to a friend or whoever, you should wait maybe 24 hours before you actually send it. So you read it over, right? So what it's really trying to say is, if you are out of control, you are giving up that control. And if you're giving up that control, that person or those persons are now in control for towards your behavior and are then taking control because you are now out of control. So they're in control, you're out of control now. So you need, in order to take that control, you have to be very sure of the emotion that you want to give is the emotion you want. And even then, even if I decide, listen, I am consciously now going to be angry, if that's what you want, you are still relinquishing that control because that might be the emotion that person wanted to evoke. So we just on a real side note here, we spoke about, you asked the question, why is it in certain cases, Trini, there's a self-hate? Rayad, you were talking about the fact that, and I hope that you'd share it, the experiences in Afghanistan where now they're talking about, that sportsmen are really light and that when you go abroad, like you see this love. But in Trinidad, it could be, boy, back of the line for you, boy.
Facts.
Big facts. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes, you as an athlete, a national athlete, you give your heart and soul for your country and you expect, when you come back home, you'll be treated like not a hero, but somebody that who was appreciative. And you don't really get that when you come back home most of the times. Not all the times, but most of it, And when we go out to other countries, even Caribbean countries, we're loved so much more than your own country. And, sometimes it hurts to know that, you're giving your heart and soul for your country and somebody outside appreciate you more.
But why you feel that is though? Because you're also Trini. Why you feel you may behave the same way in another instance?
I think we as Trinis we love ourselves more than other people. I don't know if that is it, but sometimes we don't give. I don't know if respect is the word because you earn respect. I don't know what's the word, but we don't appreciate our own.
Yeah.
It's
like West Indies cricket, for example. You might go out there and give your all, but then unless you win the entire competition or you're beaten aside like India, I would say I'm not. Even though I was a sports presenter, I don't know cricket like so many other persons in the as in depth as they do.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, people know me know I'm a huge Manchester United fan. So win, lose or draw, I mightn't agree with the coach, I mightn't agree with some of the players or the performance, but I'm not going to stop supporting the side. I will still support the side regardless. What I might disagree with is whether your heart and soul was in it. So for example, if I'm watching West Indies cricket and you giving your heart and soul and not as about a big gold chain and about a party and all of these other things, then I'm still going to support you because I can't expect a side like, for example, India, when you do the research on that and you realize that I think they have to play first-class cricket. It's mandatory to play first-class cricket, and then from there you could you play in other teams. So you get in the best of the best, and if you're not performing, they have 1,000 other people coming for your spot. Right? So therefore, and so the point I'm trying to make is that as a Trini or West Indian, that level of love could be, you know, and I don't want to, you know, I'm probably going to be held with cancel culture. You want to? I might be rambling a bit. I might put myself in some hot water. You know, remember there's a male talk show. We just talking.
Get the hot water.
I'm putting up my hand because I'm helping you regulate your emotions.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing what happening here. Right. So I'm coming back.
Appreciate you, brother.
Niall,
better as brothers.
You're saying regulation, and you didn't want it to mean that we're keeping it inside.
Right.
So I'll first differentiate suppression versus regulation. Suppression is when you keep it inside and we're not expressing it. Regulating is that we're letting it out, but we're regulating in a controlled manner, in a thought out
not just
process.
letting it, not lashing out or not unleashing it.
Yes.
Venting, purging.
Okay.
Yes. And then as Rayad, when you're saying sometimes you feel hurt, right? How do you manage that emotion of hurt? Because if it happened more than once, even when you go out to play now, right? Sometimes you may even be thinking about the hurt. You know, well, I'm doing all of this and my countrymen not giving me a certain. So how do you manage emotions in general? Because I'm almost certain stepping out in front of a crowd, you must feel some kind of emotions. I don't know if the players from the other team probably might be telling you something, I don't know, but there are a lot of emotions that happen in that instance. How do you manage those emotions?
So, you know, when you now start, you know, you get a lot of butterflies. Even though you get butterflies, but you know, as your career go on, and you know, I've been playing for. I'm fortunate. I'm blessed to say that I'm playing for a while now. I'm still playing professionally, so I have the experience when I go out now. The crowd don't bother me at all. Sometimes I don't even feel like it have people in the crowd. So I get to that level now. I focus on what I have to do. So the crowd, yes, you enjoy it. So when you're playing in Trinidad, the Trini Posse stand, the music, you enjoy. You feed off their vibes, right? But you know, like somebody shouting something out in the stands, I don't hear that.
Right.
So that is blank out from me. I don't know how other people react it, but me, I hate to lose. I support Manchester United, so I know the feeling.
I know we strong as brothers. I know.
You know, and
there was something.
you know, I hate to lose, but you know, as you say, when you go there, my main thing is to win. You know, I forget about, you know, this one look, you blind the bus route when you come through, when you come down, when you come to the airport, you have to stand up in the long lines and people recognize you, that kind of thing. I forget all about that. You know, my main focus is to go there and do my job and do it to the best that I can.
And you see what you're saying there, I think is all men could testify. See when they say you blank out certain things, because I've heard women speak about their husbands like this in terms of, well, he blank, like he just blank mouth, he blank it out, right? And I myself, I blank things out because I don't know if I've ever explained this on the show before, but the physiology of a male and a female brain different. We have less connections between the left and the right side of our brain. So in terms of our woman's ability to quote-unquote multitask or task switch, we have less of it. So that's why we have a quote-unquote one-track mind. And that's also for our survival, because back in the day when you go out to hunt, we can't be thinking about your wife, your children, and all these things as you'll get killed. We have to be thinking about going for the food and again it. When you get the food, you have to think about reaching back home and carrying it. So understanding to how we men process things is important. Knowledge is power. The more we understand ourselves. So you see how you able to regulate, not suppress, regulate your emotions. So you're aware, you're feeling the butterfly, so you're not denying it. But you know now, okay, if I listen to the people shouting, if I listen to this, it might affect me negatively. So I'm able to blank it out and then focus on the task at hand. Okay,
just to come back very quickly to, I actually don't think that is a case of Trinidadians not appreciating our athletes or our celebrities. I think deep down, we are fans. We love our stars. We love them, you know, but there's a pride that we have where I can't show too much love. Yeah. I cannot. Yeah.
I don't want to.
I don't. The pride is in our mind. It's coming as can't. I cannot. I physically. Let me give you a quick story.
But you want that picture though, eh? You want that picture.
We wanted to know, but we still might ask. Yeah. So a quick story of a friend told me of he's seeing Bravo in the mall, right? He said, "Wait, look, Bravo boy. This man will do plenty for my country." And he's coming on Bravo's coming on the escalator, right? I wonder if he will stop to give me a picture, boy. wait, but he tappy brethren. Dog, look bravo, the man looking fresh, blah, blah, blah. And as he slowly came closer to him, he is explaining it to me. He said, I said, boy, ride out with you, yes? I'm like, so in my mind, I'm like, what happened? And he just, at the time when it mattered, when it was like, hey, I appreciate everything you do for me and for the country and blessings, he just could not give himself that moment to say that. No.
A lot of times too, Niall, I would think that people, because it reminds me of I don't know if you recall when KG was here, we were talking about Trinidad music, and we were speaking about the way the connection with the music is that back in our day when we hearing Ninja Man and Beanie Man and things like that, they were speaking about areas that we weren't familiar with, Mobe and things like that. Yeah. But because now the Trinidad is, it's actual areas that you've probably passed on a regular basis, it brings it home. And so I'm saying in terms of seeing Dwayne Bravo or Brian Lara, you see them so regularly, or like you see them around, and you think, okay, you're Trini, this is our rock. You don't have the same, he have 5-point-something million followers and he big in India as we were talking about, or Brian Lara, but you just feel that it's almost like it's one way. I'm not giving you that.
I can't accept that because I don't have.
I'm not saying it's right. Mm-hmm. Remember talking about out of control and in control and your emotions. But at the same time, if you want a picture, now mind you, they probably appreciate that you don't want the picture because you can imagine how many times that they've been asked that. So they vex. They vex at the band taking a little stroll, coming down the stairs, and somebody go, hey, man, oh God, I ain't take a fresh, I ain't do this, whatever the case may be.
But short of the picture, the appreciation should still be there, though. That
you could say you are bravo, something like that, yes.
Blessings.
Yes.
But how and I've seen it physically there for myself, Brian Lara pull up by the doubles, man. And a man, you hear a man stoops in the line one time, like he cannot get his doubles before me. And in my mind, I am like...
Are they making sure?
This is Brian Lara. What are you talking about? He have other things to do.
Yes.
You understand? And so again, it's back to the self-hate. Because I feel like it's less about the issue that they have with whoever's the celebrity at hand. It's more about... I don't want them to feel that they're better than me.
That is you with yourself.
And I can't express that fully.
Correct. So we want to talk about that, but we had to go to a break. But before we go to the break, I want to ask, Rayad, all the thing about your zone, all these things and emotion, right? If you get a bouncer and it hurt and you release that cry in front of the public?
No, you hold on.
You
can't show the opponent, they coming at you again, so you
can't show the cameras that on here as well. You don't want to show them the tears that we talk about. We had to release the emotion. Wow. But we taking a short break. And when we come back, we talking more about those feelings that we don't let out. They say bad man don't cry. So we had as per normal, we had a real good conversation during the break. A couple of my brothers, they had a little cry. They released their emotion on some of it excitement and happiness. And the types of conversation that we're having here. And it's really important, all joke aside, it's really important that we have these conversations because a lot of the issues that we face as men are also because we simply don't know how to release it and get in control. People think you're out of control if you cry, but you're actually in control. If you take note that, listen, it's okay for me to cry, and I'm not concerned with what somebody else is thinking. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm concerned with what someone else is thinking, they now have control.
Facts.
So let's sort of kick off with two things. Kindness for weakness, whether it's your partner, whether it's your peers, or as you had mentioned, Rayad, in the earlier conversation where you said you wouldn't cry if you get that bouncer because you don't want your opponents to see that. Now, that is assuming that people take kindness for weakness. And we also in this particular segment want to talk about bad man don't cry. You know, it is a real premise.
Right.
Whether you say a bad man or not is a premise for why men just don't show emotion in particular cases. Or you're told, stop crying.
That's happened. I feel that's happened a lot, especially in Trinidadian households. What you crying for? You want me to give you something to cry about? if you have not heard that as a boy, something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Something wrong in Trinidad.
That was a mantra. They give you something
Nah,
to cry
crying.
for.
And also then now we growing up, we can't express, we know that something is now wrong because in our formative years we were getting told that something is now wrong for crying when you're hurt, whether or not it's not physical, because hurt comes emotionally a lot of the times. And I don't know why parents at that time don't understand these kind of things. Or is it, is it that we are liable to make that same mistake with our children?
Are you saying that? I keep telling my son every time, what are you crying for? A shim out boy or something to cry for. You know what I mean? And
So you ain't gonna break out at one point, you watch a movie, and start to tear up.
yeah, it's happened to me. But like I different from Nile. I would never show my emotions in front of my family. I would walk away, and that's just me. Because I have 3 sisters, my mom, just me and my dad, as you know, I dealing with a situation now, and now I don't ever, even with my wife, I would turn away, I would go to the bathroom,
But we spoke about that. Is that because, like I was sharing with you with my dad, even when I was, even at the funeral, there was a part of me that didn't want to show emotion. Yes, admittedly, because of the presence that was out there, was being videoed, etc. But mostly because I wanted to hold strong for my family, for my mom. I needed to be there as that pillar because I knew if I gave into that, she was already crumbling. She was already falling apart, and I needed to have be that pillar there for her. But is that similar to why you're not showing it, or just bad man? Like I not crying in general.
Me on a whole, I don't really show my emotions in front of people. I hold it in, and only on the cricket field.
Why?
See,
Why?
Yeah, I know what I asked. What was the reason?
I don't know if it's probably shame. I don't know. I can't say.
I know you don't have enough time to go into a full therapy session, right?
Yeah. This is manhood.
Now,
this is manhood.
I asked why because many times we do things, and actually yesterday I had a little talk on this with some youths. Anytime we do something and we don't know why, that's problems for us because that means we automating. We're going on autopilot and we're not conscious of what's going on now. So I know we mightn't delve into it now, but I say even to think about it. Why exactly? Now, I ain't saying you're wrong or you're right,
Yeah.
but the understanding why is important. Because even to regulate our emotions, we have to even understand why we're doing what we're doing or how. Because I hear the different things and I'm realizing as a man, right, is a real balancing act we have to do in terms of our emotions, Because the psychologist Jordan Peterson said, each man, their aim should be to be the strongest person in the room when your parents die. And he said, whatever path leads you to death, that is important. And I thought about that, and I was listening to what you're saying, and even when you say the situation with your father, right, that could take different forms. That could take the form of somebody crying, or it could take the form of somebody staying as stoic as possible. So understanding, too, the why, what's going on, because I think each man would be able to know exactly what's going on inside of them. And if you're unaware, that's where some of the practice come in, because even you telling your son, where you're crying for. But I realize, even listening, there's a dissonance that sometimes happens with our young boys, because in one end, we tell them, do whatever you want, be free, right? I just given a quick example. If your little boy, his son want to pee, you will let him pee wherever now. Right? So he don't learn a certain degree of control. But if he expresses emotions openly, we tell him nah. So the physicality of things, we get to express as boys. We learn, the teacher, go and run, go and do something. Just let it out in terms of physicality. But we tend to be suppressed when it comes emotionally. So that in itself could have a dissonance. So I grew up now thinking, well, maybe I could do whatever I want physically, but emotionally I have to stay a bit stunted.
I embrace that. But I'm still like when you say you know in that emotion, you don't know why. Is it that you ask yourself maybe sometimes I wish I would show more emotion, I wish I would cry, or you're sort of happy, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why I'm asking. I saw my my little sister, who I'm very proud of, like through that whole process with Dad. She held so strong that you know the crying that I would have seen would have would have been sort of when she went away into her bedroom or whatever, and I would come out and there were maybe some signs that she was tearing up, but she held solid in public. Whereas for me, I would say that I felt that I might have broken a tooth. I was clenching my jaw so hard to avoid showing emotion. And I recall when I was given the call, I was actually in the middle of directing Spellbound, and got the call. You were there, Niall, and I left, and I went to the hospital, and of course he was on his last breath. And we spoke about this before, about regret and being open and showing that emotion and letting your dad know how you feel about him while he's alive and allowing him to be able to tell you. And I remember during that period, spending so long in trying to allow him, to allow him more life, that at that point on his last, when I realized that, they say the hearing is the last thing to go, that he could hear me. I heard, my mom, my sisters, all them saying, it's okay, you can go. I couldn't bring myself to it at that point. And when I did, even with the nurses around, it just like a deluge. Like it just overcame me. Like there was just, I could have broken all my teeth. It didn't stop that type of feeling. And I gave into it at that particular point, because at that point it was just zoned in to the fact that this is my dad, and I'm now going to tell him the words that I thought I'd never have to say, which was, it's okay to go. Because I was feeling that this month, you're leaving me.
Yeah.
I'm a child again, even at 48. Yeah. I'm like, how you will leave me? And I'm now releasing him to do that, not understanding what that was, and it came out. So I'm saying that but again, even through the whole process, all the wake, all the visits, I was just clenching my jaw because I didn't want to cry. And as you mentioned, but it's supposed to be okay.
It's supposed to be.
Like who told us? Like how you said you don't know where it comes from. Who told us that it's not okay?
Our parents.
But where did they learn that?
My sisters and my big sister, if I, like when I now started to travel and I go to hug her, she tears, cry. So any little thing, she, in front of everybody, she will cry. My next two sisters, they similar, but they're not as bad as her. So they would tear up and...
Basically, we say they're not as bad as her.
Yeah, not as bad as her. She real bad. She, as soon as they say you're leaving, she... But me, I don't like people to see me tearing up. That's just me. I don't like that. I feel less of a man when people see me tear up. So even...
But where we learn that from, Rayad? Where do we learn that, because we come back to the second one, we talk about bad man don't cry. Yeah. But what about mistaken kindness for weakness? Do you think that if you cry, somebody would think, like you said...
feel you're weak.
You feel you're weak.
That might make sense. Well, let me challenge that one part of not crying is strength, right? So I feel that a lot of times, especially in a moment where someone passed and it is natural to cry, I think that a lot of times the strength is really giving people permission that they could also cry. So I felt like had you unclench your teeth and show that, even a man of my stature could, immerse myself in this emotion, that would have a ripple effect. And yes, you very well know that everybody else would have been crying the minute that you started, but you would have been the ringleader in saying that, hey, I am strong enough to let go of my feelings. And I think that everybody else should follow suit, so to speak, because a lot of times it's always be waiting for you now being the patriarch of your family to be like, you know what, guys, it's okay. And that's where true strength for me comes in. At least that's how I interpret it. Because I was always told, boys shouldn't cry. And I was like, yo, I'm not going through that. Now, but to go back into quickly about bad man don't cry, right? A lot of the times, especially in relationships, women, and I'm not saying all women, tend to use our weakness as a tool to hurt us later on.
We are only cutting you there because we come into that.
Okay.
That's a whole.
Okay, I'm ready to,
You're ready to rock with that one, right?
I'm ready to rumble.
We coming back to that, to that, but I just want to say that just on your earlier point about releasing it, one of the most popular memes in the world is what? If anybody could take a guess. One of the most used memes in the world is a picture of Michael Jordan
Crying, yes.
crying,
Yeah,
right?
facts.
And it's used all over.
Facts.
I'm saying, think someone like Rayad. You know, he bust down crying on the pitch, right? You would think that, I get hit and he started crying, right? That, as much as the emotion, they will have maybe a couple people that will be like, oh my God, empathize. But they have many out there, total apathy, are not going to be, there's like, you don't treat, one thing Trini is real creative one. You know, Trini's a
As
creative of many
soon as
things.
it happened,
Before that game done,
Before the tear hit the ground.
you understand? You know there's a set of Rayad, all kind of thing. You know what kind of guy, Amazon warrior this man is, boy. You know, there's so you have to be. It's exactly. You know, you have to. I don't think that, for example, and if I broke down at that point, like I said, it's being videoed. There are pictures. Not that is the thought that's going through my mind at the time, but I'm saying to you that there are persons that after the fact or even during may have that moment. But then you got a brethren like, boy, you just ball up the place just so. You understand? You're crying,
Maybe that's fine, Robert, because maybe part of being a man and keeping that emotion, that strength, is being able, through the people making fun of you, you're still able to show that emotion. Because when I was thinking about Cristiano Ronaldo just cry all the time, right? And they have memes on him making fun of him, but it's also he get respect because of his passion. Because we assume that he crying because of how much he feel for the game, right? So I say in the same way, when we show an emotion, it is for us to stay strong or stay true to ourselves, even through the making fun of it, because the fact is we feeling it now. The fact is we do feel it, and I think it's because of the suppression that it sometimes comes out. You use the word deluge, right? It comes out in that, yeah. Because sometimes we get sad. It's one tear would have come out if we let it out, But it is, after a while, it just tears. That one tear build up, and then we release it in that manner.
But as you spoke about strength there. So we need to take another break. The irony is we coming back to Nile rearing to go. Basically, we look at it about women do like soft man.
Back from the break. Manhood is the topic. Well, interesting topic here now. My boy here is rearing for this topic.
Woman don't like soft man.
Woman don't like soft man.
In more ways than one, by the way. But I felt, thank you for coming back like that. They don't. They don't. Well, at least the same way that men were trained not to express their emotions, women have been trained to not want men who express their emotions, literally. Because I'm sure that in the household, sisters have seen their mother tell his son, the brother, don't cry. So why would that woman grow up to want a man who crying?
Listen, when you saying this, right? I mean, doing actual research, my own personal relationships, and even seeing clients, especially couples, because of this confusion. Remember, I was talking about the dissonance growing up with boys.
Okay.
That confusion, even women confused, because you're saying women will not want a man to show emotion, but then a woman would say in the same breath, but and again anything from him, like he not feel anything, and then sometimes literally do things to elicit an emotion from the man, and then when he express the emotion, but where you getting on so for, right? So you understand.
Yeah, but cry baby in there.
You understand the I go to curse day, the effed up
right.
kind of
release the emotion. If you want to curse. You have a bleep.
The effed up kind of relationships we have because of this, whether men should release, whether we shouldn't release. And I think the conclusion is, going back to the word regulate. We should regulate. We should be able to regulate our emotions. We should let it out. And whether or not women trained, men trained that way, just like I was talking about Ronaldo just now, no matter what, Michael Jordan with the crime, no matter what, if you feel to let it, and that comes with, of course, understanding who you are as a man and being able to stand up. You know what? I feel to cry. Yeah, cry, baby boy, ting. All right, I will cry next time. I'll cry louder. Just being able to be okay with whatever emotions you feel at that time.
But if you cry next time, are you now doing it out of intent to make a point to regulate that not necessarily that emotion, but that impression people have of you? So again, we're coming back to the fact that you are out of control because you're now giving control to someone because you're now concerned with what their impression is. Because if crying is not in that particular instance, you may have let it out based on that passion. I mean, I have a different stance. As I said, as Manchester United men, that's where Cristiano Ronaldo first won his Ballon d'Or. But at the same time, a lot of times it is not his emotion is not necessarily always out of total passion in a positive way. Is a lot of time it's a lot of self. And his importance and what he wants to achieve and those different types of things. But that's a whole other conversation. But I'm saying that if it is that you're now saying, okay, well, I've cried now and I'm going to keep crying now so that it becomes a thing, then again,
balance. Too much anything not good.
Balance, correct.
We're going with regulation. Correct. Is that I go to say, maybe you should even do some of that because practicing it, you'll get better at it. Practicing, not necessarily crying, practicing releasing the emotion, practicing regulating the emotion. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. So if it is, realize, what, 2 tears good enough for me, you understand that your balance. A ball every month, good for me, that is your balance. But instead of simply keeping it in, because I know for sure that's not healthy. For sure that's not healthy. So in terms of every man watching, everybody watching, practice. Practice releasing emotion. And again, we're using cry, but releasing emotion don't have to be crying.
Facts.
Releasing emotion could be going and take a run, you release something, right? And because we as men, physical, if you notice or pay attention to sometimes how men, we release emotions is based on your body movement. You would do something with your hands. You would feel your body do something. Even there are many men when they're talking and the emotion hit, you would see like
jostle in the seat,
right?
Change position.
Because that's the energy moving in your body.
Yeah.
So being aware of it.
You see that with the Prime Minister, when he ready to say something, you give you a little adjustment there,
And that's more a male thing than a female thing because one, it could be nature because of how we process things. 2, it could be nurture, how we were trained because we were trained not to emote like this, but to do something physically. So you would see people shaking the legs, doing something like that, maybe even biting it. But everybody might have their own little tick. So being aware of it is important and practice it. Practice the regulation of it.
Well, just a touch back on you saying that you don't need to cry to show your emotions, right? And I felt like you just talking to your partner about something
honestly
that bothering you.
Honestly,
most men don't. Most men, we shoulder so much issues and drama in our life, and again, we want to seem like we're protecting our peoples because I don't want them to worry. I go and be the man, and I'll worry about it, but that's silliness, to me, at least, right? I like, if I have a problem and I have my partner with me, she's supposed to be my other half who's supposed to help me solve whatever issues I'm going through. what's the point of me not using my best and most
I
available
don't agree with the
assets?
other half, but we'll go into that in another
I
conversation.
mean, there's a balance in life, and they have the male side and the female side, which brings the balance. So there is a half, regardless.
But I just want to
of how
touch
we-
on only because I know you're talking about yin and yang and the
Right.
the alpha and the omega and all these things, right? But if you read like Khalil Gibran, which I'm sure you know of, where he spoke about two people being whole. And what you do is, instead of being a half, it means that you're missing something. Whereas two persons need to come together as two wholes in order to have another experience, in terms of to take it to another level. But we getting very philosophical and so on. We back to women don't like soft man.
So back to I have this greatest asset in my pocket here, and men don't take this opportunity to really say how they feel about anything. I can't, men can't come to the girl and be like, yo, baby, I'm not feeling X, or this is how I blah, 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 and actually use that opportunity that if you feel like crying, if the world was, you had your boss ball you up, daddy, cry about it with your girl. You understand? But most men will feel that I don't want my girl to see me in such a vulnerable space because she wouldn't be as I'd prefer her to be. You understand what I'm saying? Can I use the word?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm sorry. Niall, there was a moment here, and Niall did Niall, and took it to another,
And it is what it is. That's how I speak, and that's why sometimes brothers have me on the panel, right? But point is that, that is always be at the back of our mind. And I feel that if that's the thought that you have, that is not the person that you're supposed to be with. Like, if you're in that space that I am worried that girl don't like soft man, then that's not the girl for you, personally.
I actually agree with you, because I've been back and forth with this, and even for years, what man's supposed to do in that situation? You're supposed to keep it in? Is it a biological thing that when a woman see you cry, they automatically feel that something wrong with you? And I've heard actual people preach this, but I realized none of us perfect. So if we want to say what a healthy woman is or what a healthy man is, I don't know if any of us ever perfect in that sense. But if you as a man in your relationship feel that sometimes you cannot, or you're afraid to express something, some emotion, whatever it is, then something wrong. That's my bottom line. If you're afraid to do it, something wrong.
And on both instances, do you actually feel, whether you cry, whether you watch a chick flick? I mean, because I've had instances where, I have seen wifey, tear up watching a show, or something happens and you decide to tear up, and will be, and so we talk about men sometimes don't want to show emotion, but women also don't want to show that emotion, because they sometimes are, as we spoke about it in in certain instances where they're in survivor mode, and they feel that they have to, if in some of the other women that we've spoken to or had dialogue with to get some research for the show, where even though you're with a partner, if that woman is not feeling that she's getting everything she needs to get from that man in terms of feels that strength, which could be the man crying and mistaking that kindness for weakness, and as a result of that, she's in survival mode, like she has to take care of business. And if she's in taking care of business, as we spoke about, the reverse roles where women are feeling a sense of more masculine energy. Again, another one conversation that we had on manhood, speaking about that masculine energy. So therefore, they don't want to show their partner that they're breaking down, and they hold it in. And as a result, you have two persons who are not showing that emotion, who are listening but not necessarily hearing part of the conversation and moving on. I remember a partner telling me he eventually decided to tell his woman something, had a long, real deep conversation with her for the first time. They keep saying he doesn't communicate.
Right.
And he opened himself up. And he mentioned something about a woman that he spoke to in a bar. And that is all the woman.
She stopped hearing that.
Wait, hold on. Let's back up here. Yeah. This woman that you're in the bar, and he was just like, really? Like, you're not even asking yourself the why? Why did I feel? What did you have to do with all of this?
Well, that could be for the topic whether men and women could handle the truth.
And that is one of the topics coming up. But I wanted to, I know we're near to closing off this conversation here today. And, we always say that manhood as an episode in terms of timing on TV and on digital finishes, but the conversation will always continue.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And Rayad, I'd like you to sort of give your closing thoughts. And one of those is, basically how you said about not showing your partner or anybody that you cry, but if they cry in front of you, what is that reaction in terms of that emotion, and then your general thoughts on the conversation today?
So because I grew up with 3 sisters, I know, well, I shouldn't say I know, but I kind of understand women emotions most of the time. One of the toughest periods is when my wife was pregnant with our first child. They go through those ups and downs with the hormones, and one day we were driving home, and I just touched her on her shoulder, and she's like, she lash out and you don't know how I'm feeling, and tears, and I was like, why do? I just touch her. I like to make joke, fun around, and I was like, but are you shocked? And then when we reached home, she was staying by her mom that time. She come out the car, opened the door, she took her keys. So I thought that we vexed with each other. And she was like, so you're not walking back out in my car? You know, even I was like, but you know what I mean? So I was like, I shocked. I don't know what to do. But, it was the first child. I started understanding, what to go wrong, how she behave, how to behave, and, but, I can go to my wife and tell her anything. She's that understanding, although I don't. But I could, and she would want me to come and tell her anything. I could cry in front of her because at times, a couple times that I did because of situation, and, she was very understanding and she would cry in front of me. So we have that kind of relationship, even though she want me to communicate more, but that's not me. I kind of keep everything inside, as you were saying. Why? But I don't know. That's just me. I like my own space most of the times.
So in Afghanistan, during that situation, you didn't no emotion. Come on, it's only the 4 of us here.
I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared at all at that time because the security was tops, 100%. It's only when the bomb went off, and the whole place rock is like, you only see these things in movies, but to actually experience it and the way it sound, the kaboom, and the whole place started shake, and you see we get earthquake here, but that was like an earthquake. You see that building, the glass, the shattering and coming out, so it was, and she was pregnant at that time as well, and
so with that embrace, when you all saw each other,
yeah, that was
no waterworks. I'm trying to get to the point when you had that moment.
I got in an accident 2 years ago in New York, and when she came to see me there, we a few tears and things, because I probably am living a second life. People say they live a second life, the way it happened. So, but this topic, I think, is the first time I sit down with men and have this topic, discussing this kind of topic. I could tell the national team, tell a man he cry in front of the girl, he laugh at you. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. Nobody want to shed tears in front of the other half and that kind of thing. So, it's interesting. It kind of opened up my eyes to what we should, well, not say should, but, what we should experience. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just who we are. And we need to open up a little more as men. I think Trini men, they open up. That kind of self-esteem, kind of pride kind of thing. I'm not saying I'm gonna cry, in front of people.
I thought you were gonna say that. I thought one was coming out there, Rayad. But Rayad, what you're saying there is very apt, and I'm my point just to touch on that was simply to say that whether it be myself guilty of it or whether it's somebody else, and you have a moment and you cry. The issue and the negativity is with me. The problem then is with me. It's some sort of insecurity or issue that we have as men, that we can look at other men and think that, hey, you're soft or what kind of mama, and all of these conversations that come out, and that's what we need to change. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you because your feelings are valid. That's the point. Your feelings are valid. Even if it highlights a weakness, quote unquote, or a shortcoming or something you have to work on, it's better to be highlighted as soon as possible so you could work on it. So keeping it inside. I have heard many men, even went to the grave, sometimes they're ailing and they're hurting. And instead of letting it out, right? They keep it inside, and even their children, I never know what daddy was thinking.
Yeah.
I never know what he was going through. And that, what we holding back, could actually help your son, your daughter, another generation, even a stranger. A stranger see you cry, and that expression do something positive for them. So I understand the prevailing sentiment about men, quote unquote, not supposed to show emotion, but we're here to do something different. That's why we're here, man, to learn something different, do something different, and be better as men.
No?
One statement to the ladies in particular. So looking to all the ladies at home right now, right? Y'all train your men to lie to you. Literally. Every time a man comes to you and wants to tell you the truth, and you use that opportunity to pay attention to the wrong things, use it against him later on, make him feel small when he being vulnerable, that is just a moment that he's going to register to lie to you in the future. So pay attention to that.
Well said. Well said. I'm short for words, believe it or not. Just to say that to everyone, the strength is in being in control. And if being in control is releasing that emotion, when your body is saying, this is part of the process, whether it be of healing, whether it be a situation of happiness, whatever that emotion is, that is a strength. That's not a soft man. The soft man is the person who's out of control, who's holding in those feelings, who's more concerned with what somebody else is thinking. So just let that, just to touch on what Niall said and what Rayad has shared and what Johannes has shared. It's a really been another thought-provoking, a very inspiring conversation again. I thank you, gents. I love the fact that every time I sit down here, I learn so much more.
That's true.
And I hope that everyone listening to manhood has taken something away, that we're all responsible, and to just be in control of emotion. And if it's one thing you leave here with, is to know that it's okay to cry.
Manhood, brought to you by Jameson, natural sources since 1922, and Racetrack.